Good morning, everyone. This is AOP. I hope you're having a beautiful Saturday morning today. I'm out here drinking coffee with you. I'm here joined by my main man, Eddie Kwan. I hope you're all having a beautiful and fantastic day so far. We're talking tweets. We're talking tweets that we love, and we're talking absolute banger viral tweets this morning. Joined by Eddie, and one of the things we're going to be able to do today is actually take a look at your drafts, and we're going to be talking about what makes a great tweet. Eddie, how are you doing today, buddy?
Doing really good. Can you all hear me?
Absolutely, we can.
LP, I don't know if it's just me or like your volume seems to be very low.
Yeah, if you click on me, right, and you right click, you can turn my volume up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Sana showed me that like last cohort, and I was like, wow, that really changes everything. So yeah, and you can actually do that to any person in the room. So, I can actually turn you up and turn you down, but if you just right click on somebody's profile picture, it will raise and lower the volume. Cool. Can everybody else hear me pretty well? Just type it in the chat, yes or no. Y'all can? Okay, good. All right. So today we're talking about great tweets. And Eddie and I are going to share some of our favorite tweets. And we're also going to take a look at some of your greatest tweets of all time. So, Eddie, what makes a great tweet to you? What makes you think like that's an absolute banger on the timeline?
Uh, um, for me, it's just really more about the idea. Well, it's two things. If it's got an interesting idea that sticks, so it's an idea um, that I remember immediately. That's a good tweet. But the other tweet I really like is like tweets that are just super useful
Mm.
and actionable, and that sticks with me too.
Yeah, I want to.
And pack a lot of value is what I'm saying.
Well, that like is a great transition to my one of the tweets that I was going to share today. So let's take a lot. Let's share some tweets with the cohort with ones that we absolutely love, and we're going to use the lesson 11 room to share our notes. And of course, I'll take a look at this chat as well if you want to chime in. But Eddie, let's share a couple tweets that we're talking about, like. We're talking about tweets that people that think about throughout the day and can reference later on in the day as well. That's what makes a great tweet. It's kind of not like a tweet where it's just like, oh, I see it and I keep scrolling, right? That's the opposite of what a good tweet is. But I saw this tweet from Save Your Sons yesterday that does exactly what you're talking about, and I'm gonna put this. You may not have even seen this, but this was one by Save Your Sons yesterday. I put it in there. 101 questions to ask your kids. And this one got, I was looking at the statistics and I was talking to him about this. This one got 2 million views and got an incredible 26,000 bookmarks. And if you're gonna take a look at this with me, save this post and never run out of conversation starters with your kids. Getting to know your kids is one of the most important things we do as parents. But surprisingly, a lot of parents I talk to don't know where to start. The answer is simple. We need to get into and this is a list, right? And Save Your Sons intentionally. I was talking to him about this. Put together a tweet that you want to reference later, which is why the image says bookmark this post. He was going for bookmarks on this, and he wanted people to save this in your folders so that you're like, oh, I want to go see that post from Save Your Sons again, and you can reference it again and again and again and again. Bookmarks do count. This is not well known by a lot of people, but bookmarks actually count in the algorithm. Not as much as a retweet, but pretty close to it. So you're getting engagement from these bookmarks. And at the same time, people are going to remember this tweet forever. They're going to go like, "Oh man, I want to I want to talk to my kids today. What questions should I ask them?" Well, they're going to go over there and they're going to reference this tweet. And at the same time, if you take a look at what he's got after that, he's got links to his lead magnet where he's collecting email lists, and he's actually bringing attention to his Froggy the Gator Apple podcast, which is climbing up on the rankings. But Eddie, did you see this tweet by Save Your Sons? Is this what you meant by like referencing later on?
I didn't see that tweet in particular, but Xavier Sons is a genius. Obviously, he comes up with a lot of really good content. Like what's really good about Xavier Sons content is that it's very very relatable, right? Obviously, lots of parents in this world. 101 questions to ask your kids. Like that's going to be, you know, you're going to bookmark that immediately.
Yeah, they're conversation starters, and it's really handy. We talk about this.
Maybe I would even add that that's a really good criteria. Is it bookmark worthy?
Yeah,
Is the question ask yourself.
yeah, you can tell now. You know, you can't see how many bookmarks. Well, you can see how many tweets how they are getting bookmarked. If you click, you have to click on the tweet itself. Yeah, but yes, bookmarks are a huge factor for whether or not you're creating content that is sticking in people's minds. You know, as opposed to just like pure engagement bait. You're providing value. So, you know, I think my pinned tweet has something like 7,000 bookmarks, right? That's pretty good. But that one that Save Your Sons has is 22,000 bookmarks, and it was intentionally done. And I like the way that he primed his audience with like, if you're going to enjoy this, bookmark the tweet. And I'm sure, you know, I actually want to talk to him. I'd like to see how many of his tweets actually got how many followers he got from these tweets. But Eddie, what do you mean? Talk a little bit more about referencing later. Do you want to share a tweet of your of that you know that somebody did that extremely well, kind of like I did with Save Your Sons?
Yeah, absolutely. I could just look at my bookmarks to see what's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had another tweet, but I'm gonna check out um, my bookmarks, and that will give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Let's have a look. Man, where are these bookmarks? Did I change the format? They changed the user interface.
So one thing about while Eddie's looking for a tweet, one thing that we're specifying here is that your tweets need to, if you want to create a great personal brand, your tweets need to resonate with your audience's mind. And this isn't like junk food tweets where, like, you know, I hate saying platitudes because the term is almost overused, but, you know, just a one-liner that doesn't have any kind of reaction to it doesn't stick in people's minds. Tweets that people bookmark, tweets that people retweet so they can share it. People retweet stuff, y'all. Consumers retweet stuff just so that they can put them on their timeline so that they can reference them later. That's how I know you may not do that, but they do that as well. We call it the refrigerator magnet effect. It's like when you find really cool stuff and you're just like, I don't know where to put it. They put it like, you know, moms put them on their refrigerators. But that Save Your Sons one does extremely well because there's a lot of that refrigerator magnet effect to it. But you can share any kind of tweet right now, Eddie. What kind of tweets?
Yeah, I one I bookmarked a while ago. Justin Welsh. Every solopreneur should have a well-crafted backstory. It's an opportunity to tell your true story in compelling fashion and connect with your audience like a human being. Follow the 7-step plan to tell your compelling backstory. Now, I probably bookmarked that because maybe I was thinking about writing a storytelling thread, and
Yes.
and I wanted to have like just like a template to go back to because obviously Justin knows what he's doing when it comes to content. So that's why I bookmarked that one. Now, just to be like completely transparent with you guys, I very rarely look at my bookmarks, but it doesn't matter. Like because we're talking about writing tweets that get bookmarked here, not necessarily looking at them. But like whenever a tweet or a thread has that sort of like it tickles that side of you, is like I have to bookmark this because it's so useful, it's so good. That's usually a sign that it's going to go viral. It's going to do really well.
Yes. I want to share with you. I want to share with you one that I have as well here. This is another one that I have. And this gets the bookmark effect because it's inspirational. And there's many different emotions that you can trigger to get a bookmark or a retweet or any engagement, you know. And this is kind of from the inspirational angle. I love this. I've shared tweets like this, like at age 20, I did this at ages. But Tyler took this tweet and he really, you know, it is like a tweet that we've done before, but it's so much better. Okay. So like at 18, he's lost. 18, college, partying, lost God. 20, poker, dropped out of college, focused on money and stuff. You know, this is relatable because this is stuff that runs through people's mind. Internet poker banned, went from 250K a year to zero overnight. Depressed, alcohol and pills. Broke, spent 200K partying. Oh my God, felt dead inside. You know? And then as you read it, like his life gets better and better and better. It's so fresh, man, because like I've never seen a thread done like this before. This is almost like one of those things that this is not even copyable. Like if you were to do something like it would just feel like you're ripping Tyler off because this is so fresh. And then later on in his life, he's showing about like, you know, how much he's done, how well he's improved at age 40. So it's a very inspirational post, and you see this, and a lot of people are going to bookmark it and retweet it because they want it on their timeline. Now, I want to talk to you guys about something that happens often. People are going to retweet stuff that they. How am I going to say this? Okay. So one thing I've seen, like quit porn coaches, for example, have a hard time getting engagement on their posts. Not just because they wind up getting shadow banned often, but because people don't want to share that content to their audience because it'll look like they are somebody who's in need of it. Okay. Now, what I want to say by this is you have to frame all of your tweets so that when your audience sees them, they feel like a winner for sharing it. Okay. I want to rephrase this. Okay. Not rephrase. I'm going to reiterate this. You want to create content that your audience, when they see the content, they share it with their audience because they're like, oh my gosh, this is like the best story. This is the best thing. This is incredible. You don't want to create content that makes people.
You want to create content where like your audience feels they get some sort of status for sharing it.
Yes. Yeah. And I think too often people overlook this. They want to like hit people with all of this. Like if you're like, could you imagine if you wrote a fitness thread and it's like, if you're a fat face, here are the 10 tips. Like nobody would share that because nobody wants to feel like they're that person. Okay. Right. You always have to think about it from your audience's perspective. But like Tyler's journey is inspirational. So people are going to be like, I want to share that because like, you know, I feel good when I get that. I had a tweet that did this as well. Strong man. Oh, weak man. It was dunking on TikTok and I can't even find my post. Well, okay. Anyway, this one went viral because there was like a common enemy that everybody wanted to dunk upon and everybody felt good about dunking upon them. So when you're creating a tweet, you want to think about it from your audience's perspective. Are they going to feel good when they hit that retweet button? If they're not feeling good when they hit that retweet button, you're going to be less likely to be shared. Like I saw a dating coach put a tweet out, and it was a thread, and it was something along the lines of like, if you're in like a sexless marriage or if you don't have sex, you know, here are 20 tips to go get you laid. That's poor framing because nobody is going to want to share that tweet with their audience because they don't want to look like the guy that's not getting laid. Does that make sense? Eddie, am I hitting on this right?
Yeah, no, you're bang on. I actually worked with a quick porn coach. I helped him, and he kept telling me about engagement issues, and like you write these threads that got no engagement. And I said, listen, you keep writing your threads because you're never going to get good engagement in your account because your ideal client doesn't want to be seen. Your ideal client doesn't want to engage with your tweets, but they need to see your content. So just keep writing it. And what would happen was he would write these very valuable threads. They would get almost no engagement, but he would get 2 or 3 people sliding into his DMs, and they would eventually become clients. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now in that case, JK's right, like Zcash, because of the sensitive nature of his niche. And I told him, I said, and he was like worried his engagement was tanking. And I said, listen, it's completely normal because, if I saw your, like, I see your tweets on my timeline and I never touch them because I don't want people to think I have a porn addiction.
Yes.
Right. And so your ideal clients are thinking the same thing. Like they would never want to like it would be embarrassing for them to tell someone on that they hide some quick porn code on the internet. And so why would they want to touch your tweets?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you have to think about it. Are people how are people going to feel when they share your tweets? And if they're going to feel good sharing your tweets, obviously you are going to get better engagement. So, yeah, let's talk about a type of tweet out there. I'm going to give you guys the kill shot tweet right now. Okay, this is like AOP's magic bullet. How to cure engagement. Like we always talk about doing threads, and you've heard all of the normal advice. I'm going to give you guys real advice right now on how to get instant engagement. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this like tomorrow because I'm sure like a whole bunch of people are going to hear about this, but these types of tweets are extremely powerful. In fact, I almost, if I were to power rank the tweets and say which one is the most powerful tweet on Twitter that is templated, okay, it is one of these tweets called the account definition tweet. And I've had clients get like 10,000 followers in one day because of these tweets. I've seen people get, 2,000 followers, 10,000 followers, absolutely blow up on the timeline just because they have one of these types of tweets. And I want to talk about the psychology behind this. So an account definition tweet is almost like an extension of your bio. And you're kind of like laying down the statement like, I created this account. I've done this account to do X, Y, Z. Now, when people see these kinds of tweets, they feel compelled to give you a follow because they understand what you do for them clearly. Okay? Right? When we talked about branding, we talked about if people come to your page and they don't understand what you do for them, they just leave. But these account definition tweets are extremely powerful. I created this account to promote, I shared one in the room. I created this account to promote natural health and beauty in our world. The modern food system is broken. So there's a little bit of a story behind this as well. I created this to give you something that everybody wants. That's the first line. Okay. Note every single person wants more health and beauty. There's no one that doesn't. Okay. Number two is the modern food system is broken. Okay, so that appeals to the majority of Twitter users who are not consuming conventional media, and they understand like there's something wrong. It's the number one health issue of our time, but we are changing it. Follow along and learn how to eat well, be healthy, and enjoy your life. So you see these account definition tweets onto your timeline, and they are extremely powerful. I want to go. I see Art of Sales. I see he did an account definition tweet as well, and he actually plugged it into a milestone tweet. So you can combine these. Woke up to 10K followers. I couldn't be more grateful. So he's thinking about his audience. This account exists to teach you the art of sales, and he stays on branding. Sales is the quickest way to get rich. It's like having your own money printing machine. If you want to learn the secrets to become a world-class closer, follow this account, and it just all stays on brand. And art of sales, are you there, buddy? Can you talk? Can you tell us, did that tweet actually bring you more followers?
Hey, hi, AOP. So, can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so actually, I did two account definition tweets. One at after the 1K milestone, I think, and then after the 10K. And I was looking on Tweet Hunter earlier, performance, and I was monitoring statistics. Those two tweets are by far my highest performing tweets in terms of followers gained.
Yeah.
I think I gained over 1,000 for the 10K one and over 2.5K for the beginner one. By far my highest performing tweets of all time.
Yeah, and I'll mix it up as well. Like, as again, I said this earlier, is like you have this, you define what you are there to do for your audience in these account definition tweets, and you write it in the most compelling form. And then at the end you go, want to learn more? Follow this account. I put one. Now what I'll do is I'm going through all the ways that you can use this. I'll put them in memes. Okay. This account existed to help you compare the modern world with the lost past of our ancestors. Modern society encouraged men to live aimlessly, but every man should have a purpose. So I stay on brand there. If you agree, then follow this account. And the way that I'll actually use this is I don't put these right onto my timeline. And what I'll do is I'll follow this up with a viral tweet. So I want you to see how I do this. So the first tweet was, it was the one with the water tower. This is so funny. So this water tower tweet just absolutely blew up. And so what I did was I followed it up with an account definition tweet. So I encourage people to do one of these account definition tweets like every 6 weeks, 1 or 2 months in between there, and put one out there, define it. I have many different iterations of an account definition tweet, but people need a reminder to give you a follow sometimes. And the best way to do it is to just double down and define what you do and then go, if you agree, then follow this account. Like who doesn't agree that every man should have a purpose, right? Like everyone's going to nod their head in agreement and be like, I agree. And so
Yeah, we should probably highlight that fact that you don't want to use the account definition tweet.
Yes.
The way Art of Sales used it to, as a milestone tweet is perfect. And as you suggested, once every 6 weeks, I would say once every 6 weeks at most.
Yes.
Like that's the most frequent. And in fact, if you have a smaller account, you probably don't want to use it that much. Like for someone like us, once every 6 weeks is probably a sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you don't want to use that.
Yeah, again, like if you're posting these, follow this account every single day, it's going to lose its power, right? And this is kind of with any type of tweet that you use. You want to keep things fresh. That's why. And if you just, write the same thing over and over and over again, you're just, showing your audience that you don't have an ounce of creativity. So be intentional with how often you're doing this. But I'm willing to say, I bet most of the people who are listening have never written one. So my challenge to you is sometime over the next 2 or 3 weeks, get this account definition tweet going. And what you could do is you could maybe pin it to your profile. All right.
Yeah. The other cool thing about account definition tweet, especially if it's the first time you're writing it, is that it helps you it gives yourself clarity on like what sort of content you're going to create, what sort of brand you're trying to build. So it's super powerful. Like so it's get you a ton of followers, but also it's going to just give you that clarity. And that clarity is going to help you make your content creation process way easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Eddie, you shared a tweet from David Perel. Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, man. So this is just a good example of a one-line banger AOP.
Yeah.
Teaching kids to follow their genuine curiosity will inspire more learning
I love
than
it.
grades ever could. That's just such a powerful tweet. I've actually stolen and repurposed the format a few times.
I've seen you use curiosity as a power word. So,
yeah, but I've also used I stole this tweet by saying following consistency will get you more results than talent ever could. I said something like that. And
I've got it. I'm on your timeline right now, scoping you out. So
nice.
you wrote. So you wrote.
Share that one. That would be awesome.
I've got one that.
There we go. Read books based on will teach you more. Oh yeah, I did that one. That's right.
Yeah, but okay. That is a right way to rewrite a banger tweet out there. First of all, Eddie genuinely correct. Okay, so you might be like, is that no? That is not plagiarism. Okay, I want to define why. If you're dense and you really believe it is, Eddie is genuinely vibes with that tweet. Okay, like Eddie gets a spark when he reads that natural curiosity tweet, and he actually made it better because he's like reading books. He framed it from his angle that reading books sparks your natural curiosity more than any college degree could. And so why it's different is he's actually talking about the institution of college versus you learning on your own. Okay. So while David Perel's talking more about how grades itself inspire you, do you see the difference? So that's how I want to talk about. That's how a rewrite is genuinely done. Like, and that's why I talk about what you consume really matters. Eddie, you want to talk a little bit more about how you wrote that?
Yeah, I actually remember when I wrote it, because I was reading that Perel tweet and sparked a separate idea
Hmm.
because I was thinking, how much, like me personally, how much I've learned from books by reading books, and I was reflecting on that idea that like I've genuinely learned more about business, about life, about skills by reading books on my own free will than I ever did in college. Like I literally don't remember anything I learned in college.
Yeah.
Besides like just basic skills like obviously spelling, arithmetic, like specialized knowledge. I don't really. I haven't. I have a three. I have a business degree. I spent 3 years in um, studying finance and accounting in business school, and I don't remember any of it.
So in
And
yeah, I want to say one more thing, Eddie. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but I just saw this one because I'm scoping your tweets like a stalker right now. But in lesson 10, I talked about how you should take a tweet to the next level, and that's exactly what you did. So like you wrote another tweet in November that is almost the same vibe, okay? But it elaborates on your February tweet. My goal in life isn't to get rich. My goal in life is to get to a point where I do 4 hours of focused work per day, talk to no one, and spend the rest of my time reading books, pursuing my natural curiosity, and spending time with people I love, working on it. That's one of your most viral tweets of all time, Eddie.
oh my god, that tweet got me like, dude, that tweet got me like 5,000 followers, something like that. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, and that tweet is really just an elaboration of it's a deeper dive on what you posted back in February, which came from a tweet based off of David Perel, right? But see how far you took that original idea, and this kind of, you know, this kind of is it's not kind of this is that infinite wheel of content in motion right here. You saw David Perel tweet, right? You get inspired of it. You put your own spin on it. That goes viral. Later on, you're thinking about some of your older viral tweets, and you're just like, you know what? I lived life a little more. Let me elaborate to my audience exactly what I mean. And there's your November 4th. You should write a thread on this somewhere.
Oh my god, I'm fired up, man. I'm fired up. I'm gonna write a tweet based on both of these two tweets, like right after this call.
Right. Yeah. People love, your audience loves that natural curiosity. But, we've been talking about how,
Hey, AOP, sorry,
yeah,
just I think this is a super powerful topic.
it is.
Do you want to elaborate on that? Like the infinite wheel of content, I think it's really powerful when you find that one idea that resonates with your account, and you just basically um, share the same idea, but in like different ways. You do that really, really well with your memes. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I can is. I view nothing is finished. There's no such thing as an idea that's finished. And I think our brains, for some reason, we like to think that things are done. We compartment our brains work compartmentalizing things. It's like this is it and this is it. That's not how really ideas work. Ideas are more like a chain, right? Just think of like a chain link a chain link fence, or well, just a chain. You can think of a gold chain, whatever. There's always a link going next to the other link. It's never done. So I realized this really early on when I was on Twitter that when I created, I was like the first. I'm not even joking around with you. I can pull up the Apple Notes if you want. Like I was like the first one to ever do like a book list. I just wrote down like 5 books that I really enjoyed, and then I asked people um, to engage with it. I would be like, these are 5 books that made me a millionaire. And I just listed like 5 books. And there were like 5 books that nobody had ever really read except for one. And I had like 200 followers, and that tweet popped off. And I was like, what is going on here? People want to discuss books. But I looked at it, and I actually looked at my comments that I got from those as well. So one of the most important things that you can do is you really need to actually read your comments, especially in the early stages, because you want to understand your audience as much as possible. And this is critical. I was reading my comments and I was like, all of these people, they read the worst books is really what I was thinking in my mind. Is like, they're reading all of the books that are just trash. So, I'm learning about where their perspective is from, though. Like they believe in these ideas, they hold these ideas valuable, and then, you know, I kind of like can teach them a little bit more because then I understand what already ideas they have as core principles. So I would develop single tweets from that, and I would develop actual threads from that as well. And then I would like turn these into, you know, ideas that made me wealthy, right? X, Y, Z. Or I could ask like single tweets or questions based off of this. But regardless of where you're coming from, is you need to pay attention to what your audience. You need to be hyper aware of this. You need to pay attention to the type of tweets that pop off, the type of words that you're using, and the type of content that your audience is engaging with. And Eddie's actually brought this up here. Okay, so I want to talk about how much I have actually milked this one idea, because I've milked it for like insane. I'm just going to say it straight up. I have milked this for it's an infinite amount. There's no end to this. So here is a list tweet. I'm not even, this is going to blow your mind, because this particular one that I posted, I'm going to put it right here. This is actually an iteration of one of my earliest tweets. So I had this one. This one went for 1.1 million impressions, right? Book of Five Rings. These are all like, I'm a huge like war strategy nerd, like extreme. I want to pull up how old this actual tweet is and how. Okay. So and this is actually older than this. Wait a second. Hold up. I posted that 2 years ago, but this was one of my first tweets of all time, because my original posting of that was probably somewhere like my second week of Twitter is when I actually posted that, something like in May of 2020. And I actually turned that into a cool list where you just take it, right? So I just took the meme, or took the list itself, and you can actually just create a meme around it. So you find like the covers or cool paintings that people are really, I have a template. So people ask me a lot of times, like, how do I make these memes? I have a template, right? On my, and I've done it here before. I'll share another meme right here. I have a template on Canva with just like the 6, right? I like 6 the most, because if I do more than that, it gets a little hard to read. I find really cool images that relate to the books themselves, and I just post them there. And I ask my audience to engage with it as well. Now, I don't do this often, guys. Now, you've probably seen these tweets like a million times on the timelines, because they are literally just taking what I do and just do it. But that's fine. That's cool. I'll post these around, really, I have like a 6 to 8 week refresh rate on it. So I pay attention to that as well. And like, here's something in my meme folder. Okay. I have so many memes in my meme folder, and I actually take that and I'll turn it into like, okay, well, if people want to talk books, why not movies as well? So I have this one in my meme folder right here. And see, movies every man. So if people love books, they're also going to love movies, and they kind of all fit the aesthetic. And those are all movies that I think every man must watch. Master and Commander, by the way. If you're a man and you haven't watched Master and Commander, in fact, like that should be the only movie on that list, I think. But but what I'll do is I'll pay attention. So like, okay, here's a meme I have in my folder. Movies every man must watch. Now, The Godfather I put in there because I do think it's a movie every man must watch, but like I know my audience relates to that movie extremely well. And they're going to comment back like Godfather 1 or Godfather 2, you know? But I have like, you know, I believe Master and Commander should be on there, and Interstellar, even though I've been called out on that before. But you know, I know that my audience also thinks that some of those are there, and they're going to engage with that going, well, what about this movie? What about this movie? What about that movie? And this brings a lot of you love that movie. Well, this brings a lot of organic engagement, because people are going to want to share with us what movie every man must, right? The powerful word there is actually must. I got to watch this. You got to watch this. And I can look at their comments, and I can even put that in a future meme as well. Eddie, did I answer your question over the memes? I kind of got like on a tangent, but I'm just telling you how I came up with it from like day one, and then like how you can take your content and actually turn all content you have is memeable, by the way. I want to just stress that. Did I answer your question, Eddie?
Yeah, you did. But the main thing I was trying to get at was that like it's the same it's the same ideas, but they're big ideas.
Mm-hmm.
They're memorable ideas, and they are ideas that stick. And the more you repeat those ideas with your content, the more likely, the more memorable you will be, and the more fans you'll have with your audience. And
Yeah.
if you guys follow me, you've probably seen that watermelon. I tweet a lot about watermelon because I that's my favorite fruit. And now that's become associated with my brand. It's getting to a point now, like where anyone on Twitter who tweets about watermelon, someone, one of my followers will immediately tag me or will say, "Oh, you must follow Eddie" or something like that, because they associate my name with watermelon. And that's because I do that on purpose, and that's because I've just like repeated that freaking idea so many times through my content that now, man, you go to the supermarket, you go to the market, you see watermelon, you can't help but think of me. See, I'm in your mind, and so I think that's what's happened now with, especially with your historical reference memes. That's like a thing that's associated with your brand now because people remember that you were the one who started that trend.
Yeah. And somebody saying, actually, you're always going to get people who respond back to you. Actually, I have people on my timeline right now celebrating that I got a community note put on me. Like they have, yeah, I can't even relate to this, but there's people like actually celebrating that they were able to add a Berkeley study to one of my memes. It's a meme, guys. Okay. So, like for instance, Kate brings up something really important here. One thing I observed that gets viral in terms of gays is a list of things that people relate to, and one thing that is controversial. Yes. So, Kay, if you take a look at this one right here, 3 years ago the world was a better place, and that's what 3 years ago. All of those things are facts, except for like the full employment. I guess like you could argue that, and the other one is world peace, right? So everybody's going to come in there and go like, what do you mean by world peace? The world has never been peaceful. We've always been at war. That's all the comments there. This is a 10 million view tweet, guys. And the reason why is because of that last part right there. Is nobody, do I mean that we had world peace in relative terms? Yeah, that's true, right? But there was a lot less war 3 years ago, so I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. People understand. People have a hard time with context, and it's actually funny. Free Your Fam, Sean yesterday came into and kind of added context to one of my tweets that I corrected him, and I was like, no, you can't do that. There's no context here. Having that strong voice and is going to get you more engagement. You don't need to be subtle. Okay. As soon as and as we look at the tweet editing room, Eddie, you'll notice that one of the things that beginners get really tied up into too much is like, well, I need to clarify that, 98% of the time this is right, but there are a few exceptions. And let me point out as soon as you start doing that, people are just going to get confused and they're going to leave. So subtlety, you want to be clear. You want to be clear and just, make a statement. If you want to clarify a statement, you can always do it in a follow-up tweet or, maybe a thread. But I think it's better to just, lay it out there. And I'm sure your comment section will add the context for you ultimately. Right? Does anybody have a question about that? That's one thing that I've noticed with the tweet editing room that we've been going through here is that I read some of these tweets, and the biggest mistake that they have is, okay, let me give you a couple mistakes that you guys are making when I read the tweet editing room, which we are closing today, but we're going to reopen it later. Okay. There's two huge mistakes. One is that some of you guys are writing about content that isn't validated at all. And what I mean by that is, if you want to write content that gets engagement, I'm prefacing it by saying that you need to write about stuff that people are interested in. Okay. Duh. Now, there's only two ways for you to figure out what people are interested in. Either you have content that has gotten engagement, okay, and you're using your own analytics, or you're borrowing somebody else's analytics. And the way you do that is, I think I brought this up in lesson 9 or 10, is you need to use Tweemex and you need to take a look at what the most popular tweets are in the timeline. Like, for instance, Eddie saw that Dave Perel tweet, right, about curiosity. And he was like, oh, I've got to take on curiosity. He was using validated content to create more content. And then after that one got 5,000 likes, he piggybacked on it and decided to do a little bit more and become more personable and tell a little bit more of his story. And that got 15,000 likes. So he used somebody else's validated content first, and then he uses his own validated content to create more content. So one of the things like I'm seeing in this tweet editing room is just stuff that I don't know if people are even really interested in it. Like, you know, and I'm not here to pick on anybody, okay? And then the other thing is, I am going to point out one particular tweet that I think I saw it and I was just really, 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 really confused. There was one, and I really like this guy, but I couldn't follow along. This I guess does have to do with what I was just talking about, but this is the part where it's trying to be too clever, right? So I'm going to read this one out. It says, synergize synergy. You've heard of synergy, where 1 + 1 = 3. But what if you have more than 2? What if you're in a mastermind? What is 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1? Okay, I'm going to tell you, a hallmark of a bad tweet is, and no offense to Tim, I think Tim is a great guy, okay? But we're going to synergize my knowledge right here. When you have more than one question in a tweet, this is usually a really bad sign. Okay. Treat questions like prepositions. Okay. Now, I want to say this. What is the role of a preposition when you write? Okay. Do you understand? If you're listening and you don't know what a preposition is, you need to go figure out what a preposition is. You just Google it. Okay. Have a list of prepositions. They put people in a mental space. Okay. Same with questions as well. Okay. Questions. If I'm reading this tweet and it's like, I'm going to go back to the lesson 11 room. Yeah, I know. It's a shame there's not a lot of people here right now because it's a Saturday and it's the summertime, but they're missing out on some serious game. But look at the problem with this tweet here. What if you have more than 2? Okay, so now I'm going to place my mind in that. What if I have more than 2 zone? Okay. What if I have more than 2? Now I'm putting there. Okay. What if you're in a mastermind? Now you just put somebody else in a different mental space when you did that. What if I'm not in a mastermind? What percentage of people who are reading your question are in a mastermind? 1%? So now you've disqualified 99% of your audience when you did that, and you've confused probably half of those. So you have 0.5% of your audience. Let's say you have 200 followers. That means only 1 follower is still engaged. What is 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1? Now, I don't understand where we're going with this. So I've probably lost every single person. So this is an example of not a good tweet. Now, I want to show you something here because Save Your Sons really is a genius. I hate to say this, and I hate using the term genius. Okay, but look at how Save Your Sons edited this. I'm going to be honest. I saw this tweet and I was like, I don't know how to edit this tweet. And I'm pretty good at editing tweets. And here's his response. The right network is a perfect example of synergy. Ooh, you see how he framed it around one idea? So what is it, the one idea that the majority of your audience wants, or majority, and he knows this is validated content, is networking. Okay. So he framed it around the one idea, the big idea that everybody can relate to. The right network is a perfect example of synergy. When you're forming your mastermind, you want the whole to be way bigger than the sum of its parts. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 10, 20, even 50. So we turn this into, is this even inspirational? This is actually a really great tweet. Create a team around you with individual superpowers and watch as your power compounds. So do you see how he took it from, it's the same idea, is about how is the idea of the tweet, the original tweet is synergy. But Save Your Sons relates it to networking and clarifies the idea, and he hones in on the lesson. Okay, so what is the one lesson? A lot of times when I come with bad tweets, okay, I'll play a game. Okay, I'm gonna play a game with you guys. Y'all like how we played the game where I just showed you person's profile picture, name, and handle, and we try to guess what they do. You all like that game? Okay, I have another game. Whenever you tweet something, okay, a lot of the time you need to add, and let's say you're like, I don't know if this, like, there's some, I can't, I'm having a hard time clarifying my writing right here. All you need to do is ask yourself one question. What's the lesson? What am I tweeting about? That's all you need to do. What am I tweeting about? So really, this is all you have to do. So when you go to lesson 11, I know it's just so simple. Synergize synergy. You've heard of synergy, but okay, and he's putting us all in these mental spaces and I'm lost. If I were to work with Tim, I would ask him one question. I would go, Tim, what is the lesson from this tweet? What are you trying to say? And I think if I talked to Tim, he would go, well, when you're in a mastermind, when you're in a networking group, everybody becomes better because everybody's leveraging their information. And then I would tell him, tweet about that. That's what you tweet about. Often the explanation about what you are tweeting about is a better tweet than the actual tweet itself. Not often, almost 99.9% of the time. So if you're having trouble achieving clarity with your writing, all you need to do is ask yourself one question. What am I tweeting about? And then tweet that, because that clarification to you is going to be simple to your audience. All right. So what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to take a look at some of your tweets. So if you would like to have us take a look at some of your tweets, we can take a look at them and help you get some clarity or just give you some comments. We're not going to edit them for you right now. I don't think that would be fair. So if you have a tweet that you would like Eddie or I to look at, it could be a rough draft or a tweet that you've put on your timeline and you want us to critique it, we'll give you some comments for that right now. So if you have something you'd like to share, either send it to me or just drop it in this chat. Not the lesson. Don't put it in the lesson 11 room because I just want to curate that room. Either send it to me or put it in this chat and I will take a look at it for you. Do not put it in the lesson 11 room. Do not put here. Either put it in our auditorium chat or send it to me directly. I want to see some tweets, guys. We're here to edit your tweets live. Can you guys all hear me? I'm dropping knowledge. Are you just being all passive consumers right now? Because now you have a chance for us to take a look at your stuff. Okay, good. We got one. All right. Eddie, let's take a look at this first one right here. Because I'm going to screenshot it and I'm going to put it in the lesson 11 room. By the way, this needs to be edited. Well, like if you put this on the timeline the way that it looks, it's not gonna do well because it hurts my eyes. Okay, right off the bat. Uncomfortable fact. So when you start with a statement like that, this better be really interesting. Okay, uncomfortable fact. With a high value skill, quitting your job isn't a risk. I left a job that paid 3 times the average and my income doubled in a month. Now I'm self-employed. Yeah. So it's okay. Like this is, if I were to rate this tweet, I'd give it like a 4 out of 10. This is something that would get a few likes and a few people would be like, oh, this is a guy that left his job. That's interesting. But there's nothing.
This is definitely not the worst tweet I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not the worst.
It's good. It just needs a little bit of tidying up.
Yeah, I think the problem is that there's no like punchline to it. Like it's a joke that like you go, okay, and then you just move on with your life. There's nothing there that like really sticks in your mind. And there's nothing bookmarkable in here. And I think it would be better if there was some kind of lesson behind it. You know what I mean? Like there needs to be some kind of there needs to be something there that is going to get people to. I'm taking a look at some of my best performers like this. Like Eddie Kwan, Eddie's got a good one. It's kind of a list tweet of his as well, where it's like learning. So okay, I'm going to go to Eddie's timeline and I'm looking for like a better version of this same tweet-ish. And Here's one that Eddie wrote like a year ago or 2 ago. Young men, if you're in a bad place, so instead of framing it around himself, he's framing it around his audience. So it's a little more powerful. And there's a lot of young men that are in a bad place. One, ignore women, which I think that's pretty funny. Like, ignore women, join a boxing gym, pick one profitable skill. So this is kind of along the same lines as your post, Wanderer. But he's framed it around his audience, and he's framed it around picking a high value skill. And then he goes, get to 10K per month, disappear for 6 months, you will return a king amongst men. Okay. So he's kind of saying the same thing that you are, but it's a little stronger frame here. I'd give Eddie's tweet a 9 out of 10. Okay. Because his is going to get bookmarked more. His is going to get retweet more because it's playing upon the, that kind of like, people are going to want to share it because they're going to want to put it on their timeline to reference it in future, and it's going to fire people up and it's going to get people inspired. Eddie, you have any comments for the Wanderer?
Yeah, a couple of things. First off, let me just scroll up and look at the actual. Where? Yeah, okay. So first of all, I've made this mistake before, but like unpopular opinion, unpopular fact, don't need that in there, okay? Just state the unpopular fact, the uncomfortable fact,
Yeah.
the unpopular opinion. You don't have to actually say it, just state whatever it is that's uncomfortable or that's unpopular. And let the audience decide, okay? So to me, Wanderer, like the concept of this tweet is that when your valuable skill, your skills are more valuable than your job. That's the idea behind this tweet. So I would have just said that as the headline. I would say your skills are 10 times more valuable than your job, or regardless of your salary, your skills are more valuable than your job. I left my job. I doubled my income after leaving a job that paid 3 times the average salary. And then I don't know what the sexy conclusion is, but it needs some sort of sexy last sentence to wrap it all up and leave you with that wow moment, right? It doesn't have that.
Yeah, well, it's about him because it's about himself. His finisher is
exactly.
I'm self-employed and I'm looking at that like, well, who cares? But on yours, your finisher is
the self-employed part. That should be the middle. That should be the story. But then, the last sentence has to be about them. What's the lesson they take away from it?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a look at the next one. We've got some good tweets. Now we're getting some really cool ones. I hope you're enjoying our comments, and we'll get to them. All right, so we've got the next one from Mike Lamb. And again, this isn't a bad tweet. I would rate it like a 4 out of 10. It's all right, But that's the problem. I guess you guys are wondering, like, how do I kick these to the next level? That was good comments on the first one. Let's go to Mike's. To achieve your goal, you need to be intentional. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Whenever you have to be careful using periods. This isn't why the tweet's bad, but you want to avoid using like periods because mentally they stop people's minds. So if you're going to actually look at some of my best tweets, like what would you add? You'll see like, men are at their like here's one that I have, right? I avoid using periods at all costs. Men are at their happiest when they are, because you want people to keep reading. Because I could just read, to achieve your goals, you need to be intentional. Okay, cool. I'm going to the next tweet. I understand what this one's about. It has nothing to do with me, right? Or verses like, men are at their happiest when they are eating meat, right? Or like Eddie Quantz, if you're in a bad place, do this. You have to keep reading, okay? So the problem is, Mike, is like your headline there stops, like it, and then you have write them down, period. You read them down. So mentally. Okay. And the other problem, actually, I think I'm going to lower this from a 4 out of 10 to a 3 out of 10. Okay. I'm talking, it's the advice is just, the advice is just generic. Okay. So like, here's what you're telling people. You're writing about, to achieve your goals, you need to write your goals down, review them, evaluate, and adjust quarterly. There's really nothing there that people didn't already know. Okay. This is kind of like just a really generic tweet. Write your goals down, review them, evaluate, adjust. You'll build motivation as you see yourself making progress. And that doesn't really relate to what the advice was either. So the problem is there is no lesson there, really. It's just, right. Eddie, you have any comments for this Mike Lamb tweet right here?
Simple. Exactly what AOP said. There's nothing unique about this advice. It's very generic. Now, what you need to do, Mike, is you need to add your unique spin on it. That's how you take generic advice and make it better. You either say it in a unique way, or you layer on your personal experience with an anecdote of how you apply this advice.
Yeah.
And that tip I just gave, guys, that applies to any sort of generic advice. And when I say generic advice, I'm talking about things that you've seen a million times on Twitter, guys. Thinking positive, journaling, waking up early. What else is there? Planning, like woo, planning. Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, you know what I mean? This is all stuff that your audience and people on Twitter have seen by reading self-improvement books and reading generic self-improvement advice. There's nothing unique about it. It's the same thing. So the only way to make it interesting, like I said, you have two ways to do it. You can either say it in an interesting way. That's where your writing skills can come to play. Or you can layer in your own personal experience by just showing your audience, writing a little anecdote or story about how you applied this generic advice and what specific context did you use this advice to better your life. Did you build a business? Like, did you run a marathon and you were obese? Like something like that. That's what's going to get attention. How you applied show us how you applied the advice. Don't just give the advice out, because otherwise it's just gonna, people will just scroll past that. They won't even see it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to the next tweet. Colin. Okay. So I think he's going for, don't try to eat a perfect diet. I think he's trying to get you as like a headline that's going to stop the scroll. I don't think it works. Like, don't try to eat a perfect diet. Okay. See, the way it could have been more powerful is if you would have defined what a perfect, and I'm putting it in quotes. If you had defined what a perfect diet was, it would have done much better as a scroll stopper. So you could be like, most carnivore diets are BS, right? That would have gotten the scroll stopper there, because you're defining what people have in mind as the perfect diet, and the people who follow that diet are going to stop the scroll, or people who are interested in that are going to be like, well, I need to engage with this tweet. But perfect diet is just, it's not a power. It's like, I almost want to say it's like anti-powerful. It's like so generic that nobody's going to engage with it because people don't really understand what that is. Okay. All right, so the next line is, focus on one area that you can improve at a time. And then when I actually, this is kind of ironic because then you give us a million areas, okay? This is the same mistake of one of the earlier tweets that I had, where it's just way too many questions. And when you're having way too many questions in your tweets, you're signaling to your audience that you are kind of lost yourself, okay? Can you make a switch that will get you more protein? Can you find a healthier dessert option? Can you find a way to eat more fiber? Can you trade your muffin morning for watermelon? Oh, okay. Okay, I would give this tweet a 1 out of 10, but because it has a watermelon mention in there for Eddie, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. Okay. I'm lost.
Can I give him a little bit of advice? I think you'll agree with me.
Yeah.
This is kind of like a very subtle but very high level tip for everybody that's listening to this call. On Twitter, guys, you don't want to be half-assing around the way you say something. You have to say things with conviction, or don't say it at all. So the way he's written that sentence, AOP, don't try to eat a perfect diet. No. You don't want to say that. This is Twitter. You want to say eating a perfect diet is stupid. Dumb.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you have you have to say things with conviction because people feel your tweets, and like when I read that tweet, I feel, and I'm not saying you are like this,
Yeah.
okay, but I feel that you are not you are you are unconfident in what you're saying. I don't feel that you're convinced of what you're saying yourself there. Does that make sense, AOP?
Yeah, it's not definitive enough. And
Yeah, you have to be super you have to say this is you have to be polarizing, guys. Okay? If you're gonna say don't eat a perfect diet, say don't eat a perfect diet. Don't like crawl around, be like the nice guy, and be like, oh, don't try and be the perfect diet. No, 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 no. This is Twitter. This is Twitter. Like if you're gonna say don't eat a perfect diet, say it with conviction.
yeah,
And those questions, that's what it comes off as. It's like because if you're not confident in what you say, then your audience is not gonna feel confident in what you say, and then they're not gonna engage with it.
right on. I think all of this is fantastic advice. Okay. So this next one is from Nick. Nick loves Spain. By the way, if you haven't seen, Nick's account's been crushing it lately. You're going to notice something, that the accounts that are most active in CPP are the ones that crush it most on the timeline. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to check back with me at the end of CPP, and we're going to take a look at the accountability charts. The accounts that grew the most and got the most engagement are the ones that you see the most in this cohort. Here's Nick. He's taking off. This is going to be the next superstar account. Spain isn't sunshine and wine. See, that stops the scroll. It's a country of innovation. Here are 15 inventions made in Spain that changed our lives forever. So, you're going to get a lot of Spanish people, Spain itself, sharing and retweeting this thread. One thing that I really love about this is that all of the pictures are like extremely quirky. I think the use of images here is phenomenal, especially right off of the bat. Like you have the I don't want to. I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna get my hand slapped, but you have like the tapas, right? I don't know what that is in the meat, but it looks really yummy. You have the man in a submersible, some kind of suit there. You have the mop, and then you have the foosball, which just looks so playful. And the images are like, if I just see the 4 images, I'm like, I got to click on this just because those images are so quirky and interesting. I want to read what these inventions are. And then when I read it, it's just so interesting. I'm going to give you a content create. I would give this a 9.5 out of 10 for a thread. This is a phenomenal thread. I actually bookmarked this thread, Nick, and I actually was going to share it in the cohort. It's funny that you brought this in here because you shared it for me. I'm going to give you a content creation tip. So what you want to do is you want to pay attention to what points pop off in your thread. So if you all click on Nick's thread and you read it, link is right there. Pay attention to what ideas. Oh, those are cigarettes. I thought that was food. Oh my gosh. That looked like food from when I'm looking at it, that small picture right there. That's funny. Well, you can't eat cigarettes. That would actually be kind of funny. But take a look at which parts of the thread pop off a little bit more. So you had number 5. Now, what your audience is telling you, they want to learn more about this. Maybe you can talk about how the first fully operative military submarine was invented in Spain. Now, if you were really savvy, you would have had that thread queued up right after that submarine incident. Okay? So you need to pay attention to a lot of what you can do. That if you had written a thread about the submarines after that submarine incident, you still might have some time while it's still fresh on people's minds. It would pop off. It would do extremely well because it's related to the news. And then another one, I think this one would crush it as a thread. And you take a look at the one about the lollipops. You can talk about the story behind the Spanish lollipops. I remember going to Barcelona and they talked about those lollipops like all the time. So pay attention to what ideas in the thread do well and continually, go in that direction. Your audience is telling you they want to learn more about XYZ when they engage with a certain part of your thread. That's one of the powerful reasons why you want to write threads, is because they're going to give you so much content that you're going to be able to make future content based off of that. All right, let's take a look at the next one. This is, I want to make sure I get to everybody's. Travis and Tech. This is great. By the way, you'll notice that I love digits. I think digits are fantastic. In fact, I need to write more digits on my timeline as of recently. I've been getting away from that, but you'll notice that one of my memes that I shared earlier, 3 years ago, the world was better. But why digits do well is because they're easy to visualize in people's minds. So a computer science degree costs $60K. In fact, Travis, I don't know where you're going for a computer science. You should have written $100K for that. But you only need to know 30% of what they teach you. Here are the 10 books that will help you master software development and become job ready. Now, let's be honest. Why did this thread do well? Well, it plays into all of those ideas that we had talked about earlier. This is a bookmarkable thread. As I go to it right now, it has 3,000 bookmarks. Yeah, I didn't even see that. I knew this would have a ton of bookmarks. The reason why this does well is because people are going to read it and they're going to be like, I am going to get everything I need to know about being a software developer without spending $100K for a computer science engineer degree. All I need to do is get these 10 books. Now, if you wanted to make this thread even better, Travis, I'm going to give this thread a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give you a couple reasons how you could have made this better. If you could have given a lesson from each one of these books, it would have done better. Okay? And we had somebody in one of our previous cohorts write a thread like this, and he did that exact same thing. And this is Joe, Independent You. You're like, oh, AOP, are you kidding me? My thread got 2,000 likes. Well, this thread got 26,000 likes because what he did, and just to kick it up to the next level, is instead of sending you to a link, now there's a problem with this. When you send people to a link, they leave, Travis. So, instead he keeps them there. The Millionaire Next Door, what you'll learn, and he kind of gives you like the Cliff Notes version of each one of these. So this becomes extremely powerful. So this is how you could have kicked it up a notch and laid into the bookmarkable factor. This one has 23,000 bookmarks. It's a lesson for everyone here. So yeah, these book threads do well. Notice that. And Travis, I would give your hook, by the way, a 10 out of 10, really, or a 9.5, because I would have put 100K. But the hook is great. The hook's got a lot of likes. It's got a lot of retweets. But if you notice something, the posts below it don't have a lot of engagement. It only has 100 likes, probably because they're leaving instead of staying there to give you the like. Meanwhile, Joe's has huge engagement on his subsequent tweets. And he has a lot of retweets on there as well because people are sharing those tweets itself because they want to learn, they want to know what the lessons from those are as well. By the way, this is a great finisher. He has a TLDR at the end, and that goes viral as well, right? He has like just a 10 books to make you a millionaire, and that winds up going. So not only does the actual post itself go viral, but you want parts of your thread going viral as well. Eddie, do you have any comments for Travis or even the one before that for Nick Loves Spain? Eddie, you there? He might have gotten some more coffee.
Yeah, I'm here. Travis. Let's have a look. This is the books one, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting so many tweets here.
Yeah, it's a books one. Computer
I
science.
think it's pretty good. I think I would give that like an 8, 9 out of 10 already.
Yeah.
I like how he uses numbers. So, computer science degree costs 60K, but you only need 30% of what they teach you. That immediately gets your attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately you're like, okay, what's the 30%?
Yes. Yeah. And people are.
The only thing I would maybe improve is I think the final sentence, because the first two sentences so kind of grab my attention, but the third sentence kind of just leaves me hanging a little bit. Maybe it's because it's about books. And become job ready. I think we could probably make that a little bit more powerful. So instead of become job ready, here are 10 books to help you master self-development in the next 60 days and get you get your six-figure software job in the next 60 days. That's a big claim, but like something like that would grab my attention more, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That would work. That would work as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. And man, this one is rough. Okay, this is probably the weakest one I've seen so far, but it's cool. I know Art of Longevity is a brand new account, so here's the problem, and a lot of people miss the point of a thread, right? So let's take a look at this. I saw the crown. So you started off with a quote, but nobody has ever heard this quote before. The only way I would start a thread off with a quote is if it was like a quote that every single person knew. Okay. I saw the crown of France lying in the gutter, so I picked it up with my sword. I have never heard of this quote. I don't know who said this quote. And I've read a lot of books. 99.99% of people on Twitter don't know this quote. So they're just going to keep scrolling. It's not relatable, okay? Now let's read the rest of it. The hardest man in history might be Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay, so there's so many things that are off on this. First of all, what does this have to do with the art of longevity? If I'm reading, if I'm looking at your account, Eddie's saying something. I don't know. But Art of Longevity. Oh, it's all good. Art of Longevity is an account that's priming me for content that's going to teach me how to live longer. I'm not reading his bio, but I would imagine that that's what it is, since your handle's Live Longer 101, Art of Longevity. So I don't understand why there's a Napoleon Bonaparte quote thread. The other thing is that there's no lesson here. Okay. And I'll see so many people make this mistake. They write this thread and there's no benefit to the audience for why they need to read it. Let me show you a thread that does it right. Okay. So here's one by Cost of Glory, and this is done right. Okay. You take a thread here. Sulla was Rome's deadliest general. He almost had young Julius Caesar executed. So first of all, so he starts right off with like the Julius Caesar executed, but thousands loved him too. 9 keys to Sulla's effectiveness that can make you just as deadly. Now you see the difference between the two threads. I'm gonna learn about how there's a really cool story here about how Julius Caesar was almost executed. But then I can learn more about how to become deadly as well. Ooh, right? So I'm going to read that because I want to become just as deadly and combat guys like Julius Caesar. Here's another one by Rewire the West. These are all similar types of accounts. 20 pieces of classical literature every man should read in his 20s and why they will make you a better man. So you see what both of these threads have. They all have some kind of implied benefit in the thread hook. Okay? Yours doesn't. So yours is just like the hardest man in history might have been Napoleon Bonaparte. Why is there a thread there? This could have been just a standalone tweet, right? This could have just been a tweet. Like imagine the thread isn't even there. That could have been just a tweet. There's no reason for the thread. So there's no reason for anybody to engage with it and keep reading. On the other ones, it's like, here's a story about Julius Caesar and how you can become deadly. Or here's 20 pieces of classical literature and how they will make you a better man. And these are all things that people want to learn more of. So they are going to click on it and they are going to keep reading. Okay? All right, let's take a look at I hope this is all making sense for you guys and gals, because the next one is a gal. Red's tweet right here. I want to take a look at it. I'm catching up with our chat, y'all. Are y'all learning stuff? I hope you are. There's so many people here engaging with this. I think this is really cool. All right, so this is Red's. Don't listen to feedback. Ooh, that's a really odd headline right there. Don't listen to feedback. So like intuitively as an entrepreneur, I don't know if that's good advice. People will tell you when something isn't right. That means there's room for improvement. Listen to that. So now I'm confused because you said don't listen to feedback, but then you're telling me to listen to feedback. When they'll tell you how to fix it, think twice because they might not be right about the solution. Yeah, I'm lost here because wait, you say don't listen to feedback, but then people will tell you when something isn't right. So like here's the problem right here. You got like don't and isn't and listen to this. And then when they tell you how to fix it, think twice. And then they might not be right. So again, this is like mentally placing me in like many different places. Those cigarettes look yummy, didn't I? Yeah. Oh, I'm catching up to stuff. But mentally, I'm kind of like lost over what this tweet is even saying. So I believe it's saying to not listen to all kinds of feedback. This is a way that it could be framed a lot better is if you could like take the high road with it. It's like kind of like Joshua Lysick does, right? Where Joshua Lysick has like framed his critics, his haters as a good thing, right? So he's kind of like, if you don't know Joshua, he takes some of his biggest critics and he has this one thing. It's like bad reviews are good reviews because bad reviews from bad people, I love this thing, are good reviews. And I love it because it's just so interesting. And he uses it again and again and again. Now, this isn't like huge engagement, but it's a quote tweet and it's part of his brand. Bad reviews from bad people are good reviews. This is one of the key points of this book. So people are going to laugh at that and they're going to look at those other people because he's framing them as bad people who aren't capable of leaving a good review. And like even the bad thing's a good thing. And so what that does is it signals to people who are smart, like, look at how this guy is framing his critics as something that's good. Now yours is kind of like, don't listen to feedback, but like you could frame it and say it's like, something along the lines of like all, you can listen like all type, I don't know, Red. I just don't follow this tweet here. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me and it's just not clear. Eddie, do you have any comments for this Red tweet right here? Red's tweet. Is Eddie off? Oh, something happened to Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie left.
Eddie might have, I hope he's in Colombia. I hope he's all right. All right, so I'm gonna move on to some other ones, and I'm so far behind in our chat because there's so much going on. But thanks for pointing that out to me. All right, so let's take a look at this next one. Back in 2013, I struggled to fall asleep in time. Okay, so again, like you started the first sentence off with 3 prepositions, dude. Like this is already confusing because in and to are prepositions. Back in 2013, I struggled to fall asleep in time. In time isn't something that's even needed. I don't even know what in time, like in time, you didn't fall asleep fast enough. So the way that this could have been written is back in 2013, I struggled to get 8 hours of sleep, right? But now I fall asleep instantly. Here are 5. Oh, this is so confusing. Here are 5 simple habits. By the way, you need to install like Grammarly or this is a mess here. Here are 5 simple habits that'll help me fall asleep faster than Bernie Sanders. Make sure you read everything out loud. By the way, I'm like the typo person. Guys. I make more typos than anyone. I've even had typos in viral memes. It's hilarious. But this doesn't make any sense, and I don't understand what Bernie Sanders has to do with falling asleep. Okay, so I'm really careful when I use like a pop culture reference. I'm going to give you a rule of thumb when it comes to pop culture references because you're referencing this Bernie Sanders meme that was relevant like 6 months ago. Do not reference pop culture stuff unless it's like really fresh in people's minds. Avoid at all costs. Avoid pop culture reference at all costs unless it is fresh because the worst pop culture reference that you can make is one that's stale. So nobody's talking about Bernie Sanders anymore. So I wouldn't even, and this was written recently. Yeah, this was written in 2 days ago. Yeah, nobody's got that on their mind. It's confusing. The writing is confusing. The grammar isn't written properly. There's so many good threads about falling asleep early too. So you have something that is validated content here. And the hook is just confusing, and it's related to a meme that's not relevant anymore. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Oh, Eddie's got to take off. I see all of that. That is great. Well, we're going to keep going. If you got any more tweets that you want me to take a look at, send them here. Red says this is harsh. Kay says unleash masculinity. Okay, let me take a look at this one. And here we go. Hope y'all are learning something today. You're in a hurry to fall asleep too? I think a thread on how to get 8 hours of sleep every single night would be very valuable. Unleash masculinity. An old man once said to me, okay, so when I see this hook right here, this headline, I'm just like, who cares? An old man once said to me, why is that relevant? So a quote that is going to do extremely well is going to be one that, people know who they are because you're going to get a reaction from them. So if this was like Elon Musk once said, that would get people's attention, right? That would get people's attention. Or like a Steve Jobs quote, like something that people know. So it's like, hey, Steve Jobs said this one, or I've had this one do very well before. I love this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. This is I have offended God by, so you see, this is almost the same. This is a Leonardo da Vinci quote, and it's obvious that it's Da Vinci. You see his face, you see his right here. I've even repurposed this content before. Oh man. So yeah, you start off with something that is just, I don't care. An old man once said to you, okay, if you knew how quickly people forget about you when you die, you will spend less of your life trying to please them. What's life-changing advice somebody gave to you? I'm going to tell you, there's a few things that this one does wrong. I think that is a actual quote from somebody famous. So I would have said, I think about this quote often. I would have had it, and I don't like combining the questions with the quotes. In fact, I don't like giving answers to the questions when you ask a question. So what I mean by this is I'd prefer asking a question like either you have a list and you say, well, what do you want to add to this, right? Or just flat out asking a question as opposed to having a quote, right? Because you're going to lose people there. And then like, what's the life-changing advice somebody gave to you? I would think this would have done much better if you had just separated the two and say, what's the life-changing advice somebody gave to you? Ask that question. Or what's, and by the way, here's the trick with questions. Okay. You want to make the question as easy it is to answer, as easy as possible to answer. So you'll often see me, this one, I've even made memes on this, but I separate the two. What's one movie every man must watch? What's one lesson? Here's one. In your opinion, what's one lesson every man must teach his son? So for you to even get to the question, they have to read through the quote about somebody that they may not even be relatable to. And then the question isn't framed in a way that's easy to answer. So you need to make these questions as mentally as frictionless as possible. Does that make sense? Okay. If you have a few kids, it helps you fall asleep quicker. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Jack Talks Biz. Having the wrong business entity, having the wrong business entity structure. This is just jargon right here. I don't even know what entity structure means. So the problem with this is that you're referring to something that 99% of people on Twitter aren't good at. But everybody knows what business entity structure is. I don't know. Do you need an MBA to know what it is? Find a way to relate it. So what is business entity structure? Yeah. I actually, so it's a way to like form your LL. I'm reading this right now. Okay. But what you could have is you could frame it like this. Having an LLC can save you millions. Or you can tell a personal story. I was once sued for $1 billion. I almost lost it all, but then I formed an LLC to protect myself. Here's how you can do the same, right? I don't know. I just made up a story about how you can relate that lesson to it. But a lot of that's going to generate a lot more clicks than having the wrong business entity structure. I do like how you try to get the benefit in there. What you're referring it to and what you're relating it to is something that is not relatable. Okay. O'Doyle here. You can mask your pain and insecurities with drugs, alcohol, pleasure, or you can, this is okay. So this is like solid idea behind it here, or you can confront it with exercise. Okay. The problem with this tweet is that it's like it's too final. Okay. The ideas work, but the problem is that it's just something that's like too obvious where nobody's going to really engage with it because I don't think anybody agrees with the other side with it. So it's like nobody out there is like the best way to confront your problems is with more alcohol. So a way that you can do this is by trying to like one way that I do this with memes is I actually like take it and have them visualize that other side, right? So on one side of this one is like the ultimate flex is to be a great father. Now every dad is going to share that, right? Every dad that's out there is going to be like, that's a great tweet. I want to share that because it's making me feel good. This is not, so this is a comparison. These are two types of tweets, like the comparison between like the drugs, alcohol, and pleasure versus the result. So one thing that you do is you show the result, right, visually at the bottom there. So this is, or you can confront, and that's going to spur a conversation because some people are going to want to come in there and go, well, instead of saying like, I'm framing it around something to brag about, by the way. So the question is on this tweet is what is it worth? What's worth bragging about? Like having all of these things or having a family? And there will literally be people who are on the other side that do try to state this. And if you don't believe me, you're like, here they are right here, So I think these are they OnlyFans people? Yes, they are. But they're coming in and there's actually a lot of people who will the comments in here, I'm actually reading the comments. They're so unhinged. It's actually hilarious. So you have to have people that are on that other side that are going to come in here and engage with your tweet as well. The problem with that mask your pain and insecurities with drug, alcohol, and pleasure, I don't think it's going to get that kind of engagement from the other side because the tweet is too final. It's too like the choice is yours. That's it. All right, I'm going to be wrapping things up. Any other tweets you guys want me to take a look at? I hope y'all learned something from this. We kind of really went deep into these tweets. I feel bad for the people who missed this one because this was probably our best session so far from a high level. Like we're telling you, my point is when we do these sessions, we're here to tell you how we think. And I do mentorships, by the way. I just want to let you all know that Save Your Sons and I do mentorships. If you are interested in one, you can contact me directly. We're taking 2 students, maybe even a third this month. We work with some of the biggest accounts on Twitter. If you want to learn more, you can contact me. It is not cheap. I will just say this. So if you've never done a mentorship before, this is something, I'm just saying it's not cheap. But whenever I work with people who are doing mentorships with us, my goal is to teach you how we think. I don't want to I'm not going to say, hey, you need to do this little XYZ. I'm going to show you where we're coming from so that you can implement the concepts yourself. Because when you're able to implement the concepts yourself, you become so much more powerful. Today was great. This is gold. This is recorded, right? Yes. Yeah. One more if you don't mind. Yes, absolutely. I don't mind. And if you want me to take a look at any of these, I've spent 3,000 hours in the gym. Decent hook. I don't even, is that a lot of time? Is 3,000 hours a lot of time? The muscle I've gained pound. Okay, so I don't understand. So you've already got me confused. I like the hook. It's like I spent 3,000 hours in the gym. So mentally, I'm like, this is going to be a thread that's going to talk about how I can gain more muscle, but then it's the muscle I've gained pales in the comparison to the mind I've built. So the problem with this thread is that you're talking about life lessons, but you're telling, doesn't make any sense here, because you're telling people I've been in the gym, but the mind I've built's more important. So why haven't you, it just doesn't make any sense. Here are 30 life lessons my fitness journey taught me. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Why can't I, the problem is this, Jim. Why can't I learn those life lessons anywhere else? That's the obvious question that people are going to be asking. It's like, okay, so if you're going to be talking about life lessons, what does this have to do with all of the hours in your gym? If this had to do with a thread where you're going to talk about, your best pieces of fitness advice, like a Warren English, I've seen Warren English. Yeah, here's a Warren English thread. And this is mentally, it's, stays in the same area right here. Every piece of fitness advice I have from 11 years in the gym. And then he uses 2 pictures. Obviously, take a look at the guy on the bottom right. I mean, that guy looks like he lives in a gym. He has the authority there. And these aren't life lessons. These are fitness tips. This is fitness advice, because the social proof, right? If your social proof is I spent 3,000 hours in the gym, your advice should be in line with that. Okay. How about equating the 3,000 hours in the gym and how it saved you time out? Yeah, Red says that guy is the gym. He is the gym, right? See how it all makes sense in your minds? Like, I spent 11 years in a gym. He looks like a guy who spent 11 years in the gym, and then he fires it off with a controversial take that is going to get a lot of engagement. We'll talk more about how to perfect these kinds of threads. I do recommend for you to actually have some kind of audience beneath you before you already write these threads. And the point is I've seen a couple of you guys share threads, and you've got 20 followers, 30 followers. Y'all, you have to understand how Twitter works. Unless you're getting a retweet from somebody else, nobody's going to see your tweet. So if you're spending time, and you can use it for an exercise, yeah, but if you're spending a lot of time writing these threads and you don't have any followers, you're kind of missing, people aren't going to be able to see your tweets. So I recommend people like Nicola of Spain has an audience already. If you've got 3, 4, and people are going to ask me, should I write a thread? I have 300-400 followers. And my question is, do you have an audience that regularly engages with your tweets? That's when you should start writing threads. It doesn't matter if you have 300-400 followers or if you have 3,000-4,000 followers. If you have an audience that is engaging with your tweets, that's when you should start opening up and writing threads. If you don't have any audience, really, they're just a good exercise for you. And maybe, you can take those down, take them down. I would, if I were you, I would be writing account definition tweets, questions, in the beginning stages. Okay. All right. What is one big lesson that you learned today? I want you to go to the lesson 11 room. What's the one big lesson you learned? And post it in here. We've been going almost 2 hours. Post it below. I'm giving you all the sauce when it comes to content creation. I hope you've been taking notes. Go to the lesson 11 room. What is an account definition tweet? Jim Doyle, we talked about those earlier. You can scroll through. It's a this account exists type tweet. Red says there's no such thing as an idea that's finished. That's correct. Yeah. Don't ever feel like it's done. The idea is done. Be unique, right? What is unique about your brand? This is the best lesson I taught today. Make people feel like a winner for retweeting your content. Yes. There needs to be a psychological factor behind your content that gets you the share. I got to share this because this is me. Look what individual tweets get most engagement in a thread and make a thread about that topic. Yes. You see how the wheel works? Make your threads bookmarkable. Yes. What's the one lesson in your tweet? And then tweet that. Yeah, Tim. So we broke down in today's, let's see some more lessons. But in today's session, we broke down why we see tweets a certain way, what makes tweets great, how we view tweets, and how we add clarity to our tweets. Okay. And the more you do this, the good news is this, the more you do this, the easier it gets. And you're going to understand that writing on Twitter is going to make you a clearer thinker. You're going to be able to get to the crux of the idea much quicker. The meat of the idea. Say it with conviction. Yes, Kay. Yes, Kay. Always have conviction on your tweets. I cannot, if you come across as like wishy-washy, or you're not going to generate a following. So you have to write from a strong voice. These are all great. This is all great. I'm glad I talked for 2 hours and we're taking away these lessons. And if you can implement these things in your threads, you're going to start to earn more retweets, follows, and likes. Introduce some controversy or a polarizing opinion. Yes, to encourage conversation. People will go like, should I be controversial? I mean, as long as this is natural to you as well, I think it is okay to have a idea in one of your tweets that is a little controversial and to get people talking about it. Platitudes plus your story and spin. Yeah. All great lessons, everyone. Okay, let's take a look at our calendar for this week. We've got Daniel Vassallo joining us on Wednesday. We've also got a, I got to take a look at this. Did I not put it on the calendar? I got to take a look at what we're doing this week. I'm going to look at my own calendar right here. There is going to be another call going on. Create, publish, profit here. Let me see. What do we got on Monday? Oh, I'm going to do a space. We're going to do a spaces. Okay. Probably going to use Save Your Sons yeah. Okay. So we are going to have something going on at some point on Monday. I got to post that. I got to talk to a couple of my guys. But yeah, great lessons. I hope that y'all learned something today. I'm going to place a recording of this in this lesson room, and you can use the notes above to help you out. All right. I will talk to you. I hope you enjoy the rest of this lesson today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I will talk to each and every single one of you later. Have a good day, everybody.